Africacomicade. Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Introduction to VR Development with Unity. So, let's get this started. Some of the prerequisites that I believe that you have is basically the basic knowledge of Unity, and also an access to a VR headset, right? So we know that we have different types of headsets: Oculus, HTC Vive, Oculus Quest, Quest 1, or Oculus Rift. There are different types of VR headsets. I'm using an Oculus Quest 2 headset today, but whatever the device that you have, I'm going to show you the steps of how to use OpenXR and how to build your VR application. So I'm focusing mainly on the application development, mainly to just get something quickly set up, a very simple interaction. And at the very end of this, I'm going to show you how to actually deploy this to your Oculus Quest, and actually how to view this, how to test this in a VR environment. I'm going to test it on my side first, and then at the very end, I will let you know how to actually test it from your side, and what sort of constraints that we have in order to test and in order to deploy an Oculus or an HTC Vive application using Unity. All right, let's get this started. I'm going to share my screen. As you can see here, I have Unity Hub open already. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to quickly create a new project, right? And here you can see that I'm using the 2021.3.0 long-term version, long-term support version. You may see you may have 2021.3 point something else, but that's okay. That's okay as long as we're using 2021.3. And also I'm using 3D URP, Universal Render Pipeline. If you do not have this installed already, you can you may see something like this if you select URP for the very first time, right? You have to download a certain template from Unity Hub. If you're using the latest Unity Hub 3.2 version and 2021, right? If you're using an older version, you may not need to download, but with this new version, you have to download a URP template. I already have it, so this is this is the place that I'm going to save my project, and this is the project name, right? So here I need to change the location, so I'm going to click here. And I'm going to choose a different location. I'm going to go to Unity Projects. I already have something that I created. And over here, I'm going to give the name of the project. It's that very simple. I'm not going to do that right now because I already have a very simple project open already, right? So I'm going to close this. And I'm going to open up the Unity interface. Right. So usually I'm using the gray color Unity interface because it's very easy for you to see all the the contrast of this is very good. So if you have a black color version of Unity, I love that. I love the dark mode of Unity, but I'm using this because it's really easy for me to share my screen. All right, so let's dive into VR development. Right. So since you know that this is a basic Unity scene, and it's just an empty project. So the first thing that we need to let Unity know is that we are converting. We are asking Unity to consider this project as a VR project, right? So Unity has made things really easy for us. So by introducing something called XR plugin management. Right, so we use XR plugin management for both VR and AR, both of them. But in this case, we're going to be focusing on VR. Right, so let's go ahead and install XR plugin management. So to do that, we're going to go to Window, Package Manager. And this is the package manager. So we have to wait until it loads all the packages. So package manager, just to give you a basic introduction, this is where all of your assets that you purchase from the Unity Asset Store and all of the packages that are not, that are not built into the Unity Editor sample project will appear, right? So over here, you can see the packages that I have already in my project. And over here, you can see there's a drop down. I'm going to click this drop down, and I'm going to select Unity Registry, which will give me all the packages that are in the Unity registry, right? So there is a package called VR, which I'm not going to install at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll all the way down until I find XR plugin management, right? So you can see right here, it's called XR plugin management. The version that I'm using is 4.2.1, and I'm going to install this, right? So the install button is over here. Okay, so let's give it a small time. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to close the package manager. Right now, I'm going to go to Edit, Project Settings. It's over here. And I'm going to go to XR Plugin Management, right? So if you do not install XR Plugin Management before, you will not see something like this. So you are prompted to install XR Plugin Management. And you can click that button over here as well. Pretty much does the same thing. But right here, you can see different platforms, right? So based on the number of platforms that you have installed for your particular Unity version, you will see all the platforms here. And this one here, it is Windows, Mac, and Linux settings. And over here, I can see Android settings, right? I'm not going to consider the others because, they don't really have XR packages available. It's only Windows and Android that we have, that we can run XR VR applications. And if you go to this section, you can see here we have three options: the Oculus, OpenXR, and Unity Mock HMD. I'm just going to show you first OpenXR, right? If you are using a non-Oculus device, right? If you're using an HTC Vive, Piconio, or something else that is, or an HP VR headset, something that is not an Oculus VR headset, you should use OpenXR. Otherwise, you will not be able to build it, or you may have to install their own SDKs to work with. But today we're going to be using a universal XR interaction toolkit package for Unity. And I'm just going to show you, if you have a non-Oculus device, this is what you need to do, right? Click OpenXR, which will install all the OpenXR related packages, right? So let's give it a small minute to install all of them. There you go. It's importing all the assets. And let's see. Let's give it a minute. All right. So when you're installing OpenXR for the very first time, it will ask you to restart the project. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to say no for the moment, right? So it will give me some errors, right? It will show me some errors and warnings because I did say no. When you say yes, it will, reopen, restart Unity interface. But right here, if I go over here, you can see that OpenXR is now installed and it has disabled Oculus, right? It has disabled Oculus. That is because OpenXR and Oculus cannot run at the same time. There are conflicts. And also, you need to install OpenXR to your desktop first in order for OpenXR to be activated to Android, right? Before that, you will never see OpenXR in Android mode. So make sure that you install OpenXR before, right? But this is not yet enough, right? You need to go to OpenXR right here. And from here, you need to add some interaction profiles, right? Because OpenXR is, is a wide widely distributed platform. It should be it should cater all the types of devices. So we need to set up different interaction profiles. Now, for example, if you're building this for an HTC Vive, you need to click this button here and you need to give the HTC Vive controller profile, right? And you can see here we have like different types of profiles. You can also build, you can also use OpenXR to build Oculus applications as well. So for an example, I can just go ahead and give HTC Vive controller profile support. And now this application is now configured to run on an HTC Vive, right? You can also do the same thing over here as well, right? So you can see here, this what you can see here are Android devices. So you can select any available Android device controller profile and put it right here, right? But I'm not going to use OpenXR today. Instead, I'm going to use Oculus because that's very straightforward. If you're using an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Quest 2, this is the most straightforward way, right? As I mentioned you before, OpenXR and Oculus cannot run at the same time. So first of all, you have to disable OpenXR, and then you should be able to enable Oculus. But there are some conflicts just OpenXR being in your project. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to completely remove OpenXR from my project, right? I can do that by going to Window, Package Manager. And if I scroll up a little bit, I can see that I've already installed my OpenXR plugin, right? You can see here that it is installed. You can see a small tick box right here. I'm not sure whether it is visible. Here you go. I'm going to select it and remove it from my project. Okay. Let's give it a minute to remove all the assets that we just installed. Awesome. All right. Now I'm going to go back to my project settings, and I'm going to enable Oculus in my Windows mode, right? I'm going to enable Oculus. So just like before, it will install all the Oculus related packages. There we go. And also, because I'm using an Oculus Quest, I need to go to Android, and I'm going to enable this on Android Oculus as well, right? You can see some warnings and some messages over here. Don't worry about them. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this directly from my desktop, directly from my computer itself, right? So that is why I have enabled Oculus right here. And at the very end of this workshop, I'm hoping, if you have time, I'm hoping to build this on my Android device. That is why I enabled Oculus right here, right? So regardless of this being a Windows application or an Android application, I'm going to convert the whole build settings of my application to Android, right? Because when I'm using the editor, it's going to consider as the editor or the Windows platform, but it would be very easy for me to quickly convert this to Android and build an Android package, right? So this is optional. If you're not planning to build this to an Android device, you do not need to do this. For the moment, I'm just going to close this. I'm going to close this as well. Now I'm going to go to File, Build Settings. As I told you before, I'm going to switch this thing to Android, right? So I'm going to select Android in Build Settings, and I'm going to click Switch Platform. This will convert all of my available assets into the Android platform. Okay. It's taking its time. Nice. All right, don't worry if you have any issues. That's okay. We're going to, they're just Unity errors if we see them. All right, so as you can see here, now our project is converted to Android. This is now targeting Android as the base build platform. But because this is running in our computer, we can recognize this as a Windows application for the moment. Okay, right. So now that we've installed XR plugin management, we can go ahead and build an XR application from the scratch, right? because we have access to some components with XR plugin management, which works with Oculus, HTC Vive if you are using OpenXR. But we're gonna do that because I don't think that we have the time to go through all the concepts and build everything from scratch. No, we don't need to do that. Instead, we're going to use a package that is given to us by Unity. And this package is called XR Interaction Toolkit, right? So let me share a small documentation of that, XR Interaction Toolkit. You can search for that and you can go to the XR Interaction Toolkit's documentation. So if you're curious about what it provides you can go to this documentation and read about all this, how it is configured. But in a way, the documentation is, for me, it's a little bit out of the place, but it gives you basic, the basic knowledge of the XR Interaction Toolkit. But anyway, let's see how we can set this up with Unity. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to install XR Interaction Toolkit, right? So you can go to Window, Package Manager. Package Manager is the place that we need that we are using for all our packages. If you scroll down, you may see that we do not have an XR Interaction Toolkit. It used to be here, but now it's gone, right? So this is the thing with Unity, like with new versions of Unity, with new versions of XR Interaction Toolkit, sometimes there may be slight changes. So that is why the documentation is very important. This is it's an engaging platform. Unity is an engaging tool and it always changes, right? It changes rapidly. So it's always good to, be alert at the documentation and see what changes have been made. But in order to install XR Interaction Toolkit, what we need to do is we need to go to the plus button right here. We need to click the plus button. There is a plus button on top of the package manager, right? Click this one and go to add package by name. Add package by name. And here we need to type something very unique, right? It's in the documentation as well. The link that we have shared right below as a comment. There is a link and it says something called com.unity.interaction.toolkit. com.unity.xr.interaction.toolkit. A lot of dots. Don't worry. This is what you need to type, right? So if you keep on forgetting this, just search for XR Interaction Toolkit and you'll see this. And you will even see this in between the link that we've shared right now, right? So select it and click the add button. All right, so more waiting, right? So this will install the XR Interaction Toolkit package. And while this is being installed, you may get some prompts if you're doing this for the very first time, right? For now, for me, I may not get any prompts, but I'll show you why. Unity has two different input systems, right? Unity used something called the legacy input system. And the legacy input system is what we've been using. If you are familiar with Unity, if you're familiar with the C# scripts, you know that we've been using input.getButton, input.getMouseButton, input.getAxis, and stuff like that. So this is considered as the legacy input system. But when it comes to OpenXR and when it comes to XR Interaction Toolkit, both of them uses the new Unity input system. And we call that the action-based input system, right? So it's the action-based Unity input system. Usually when if you want to switch from one Unity input system to the other, you need to restart the Unity version, your Unity project. So that is why when I was installing OpenXR before, it asked me to restart Unity because, underneath it changed my input system to the new Unity input system. But I did not restart. So, we have to restart once at least. So here, you will be given a prompt saying XR interaction layer mask update required. So this is fine. You don't really need to worry about this. Just go ahead and click I made a backup. Go ahead. Even if you do not made a backup, just click it. All right, there we go. Right, so we install the XR interaction toolkit. If you are installing this for the very first time without even installing XR plugin management, you will be prompted to restart Unity. Right, so when it asks you to restart Unity, just go ahead and do that. Right, we'll take like a couple of minutes to install restart. That is because it changes the input system. Right. Anyway, it did not occur to me because I said no before. I'm going to do it. Right. Eventually, I have to do it. But before that, we need to install some samples. Right. Without samples, things are going to be really hard for us. Right. So expand the samples right here, right next to the XR interaction toolkit. And you'll see 3 sample assets. One is called starter assets. Another one is called XR device simulator. And the other one is called tunneling vignette. Right. So if I select the project window, you will see that there are no folders right here called samples. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the starter assets import button. And as you can see here, it created a new folder called XR Interaction Toolkit 2.1.1, and it kind of copied some assets, some files right here. I'm not sure whether you can see this. Let me see. It will be something like this. You will see, oops. There you go. You will see it right over here, right? So just like that, I'm going to import the tunneling vignette as well. I'm not sure whether we'll have time to configure this, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to click import button here as well. All right. Now I'm going to close it. And over here, you can see we have starter assets and something called the tunneling vignette. Right. So just before everything, I'm going to restart Unity, restart my project, just because I want to switch this to the new Unity input system. So to do that, I'm going to go to edit, project settings. And I'm going to go to player settings. I'm going to scroll down until I find active input handling. As you can see here, my active input handling right now is set to input manager old version. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select input system package new, right? If you want to keep both, you can, of course, select both, right? But in this case, I'm just going to use this one, right? I may have to change this to both, if I'm unfortunate, but, for the moment, I'm just going to click this one and select it, right? Click it, and this will ask Unity to restart. I'm just going to go ahead and click apply. All right, so this will take its time to restart Unity with all the XR toolkit components and the new Unity input system configured. All right, let's give it a moment. So these are the awkward times when we are doing live coding and live project development. Of course, we have to wait until things happen. So that's why we run small music in the background. Let's consider this as an elevator music. You're just going from one floor to the other. All right, here we go. So as you can see here, now my active input handling is set to the new Unity input system. Okay, it's time for us to set up our scene. Okay, so as you can see here, I already have installed, opened up my sample scene right here. Let me take my project window over here so that way you can see the things that I do. Here you go. Okay, so this is my sample scene. I'm going to, of course, you can, customize this. You know how to do 3D. You know how to import 3D models. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to quickly create a scene for us to set up a VR world, right? If you're following along, you can do that, but I'm going to be a little bit fast because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, right? Okay, so I'm going to quickly create a plane, which I'm going to call the ground. I'm going to reset the transform of this to 0, 0, 0. And also I'm going to quickly create a folder for materials and a new material. I'm going to call this the floor. Drag and drop it. I usually like the a dark color for this because it looks nice. The contrast is really good when you, on the floor. And I'm going to increase the scale of this to 10 by 10 by 10. There you go. All right. And also, I'm going to create a new 3D cube. I'm going to rename this as a table. I'm going to put it right over here. And maybe I can create a new material. I'm going to call this table. Drag and drop it. I'm going to give a color to this. Usually I like the yellow color, right? A non-shiny yellow color. It looks nice, right? It looks cool. And maybe I can expand the width of this and place it right here. Okay, so this is going to be a table that is in front of me, right? So that's the whole idea. Right, now we need to, we need to add the XR origin, right? Because we need to place ourselves inside this VR world, right? And that is called an XR origin. For that, I'm going to right-click the hierarchy window, and I'm going to go to XR. And from here, I'm going to choose XR Origin VR. Like Unity keep on changing this. It used to be something called XR Rig, and then it used to be something called XR Rig Action Based. It used to be called XR Rig Device Based. New names, but the current version, they say that as XR Origin VR, right? So we're going to use that. We're going to click this. And you will see that with the XR origin, you have another game object that popped up called XR Interaction Manager. Anyway, so let's set up our XR origin. As you can see here, I placed my XR origin over here. So I need to take it right on the floor. I just moved it on top of the floor. And if I want, I can rotate this by 90 degrees. So it's the whole XR origin that I rotate. And I'm going to move it over here. So kind of look like I'm standing in front of this table, looking at this direction, right? Okay, cool. Now, as you can see here, inside the XR origin, we have a camera offset. And inside the camera offset, we have a main camera, a left-hand controller, and a right-hand controller. So we have 3 game objects, which defines the head, basically your headset, and the 2 controllers, right? But the first thing that I need to do is to get rid of the main camera that is already in the scene, right? We don't need 2 cameras, right? We only need me, right? I'm the guy here, right? I'm the man now. So I'm going to ask this main camera to get out. Now it's gone. No main cameras, it's just the XR origin. Okay, so for some people, when they're trying it out, sometimes you may not appear, over here, right? As you can see here, the pivot point of the XR origin is on the floor, but the camera has some sort of an offset, right? The camera has an offset, right? That is because the XR origin usually uses the floor. In the Oculus Quest and in HTC Vive, you usually calibrate the floor. Right, you calibrate the floor, and that is the place that your XR origin is going to be with respect to the flow that you captured, right? Cool. Now, over here, if sometimes you see that you're on the floor, What you can do is you can change the tracking origin mode to floor, and it will automatically, keep you lifted up. Don't worry about the position. It doesn't matter because it's going to customize. It's going to dynamically change based on your movement. All right. Unity has done that already for us. Now we're going to go to our left-hand controller, right? And over here, you can see that we have some events, some components, and there are some missing components that we have, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the presets that we got from the starter assets, right? As you can see here, we've got some default left controller, default right controller, snap turn, UI input, continuous turn, continuous move, all of these things, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this left controller preset. A preset is a preset set of configurations for a given component, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my left controller, and I'm going to go to the inspector. You can see here that I have this component called XR controller action based. And I'm going to use the preset. To do that, I'm going to click this tiny button right over here, right? I don't know what it is. I think it's considered as the preset button. It looks like a settings button in a way. I'm going to click it, and it will show me two different presets, one for the left controller and the other for the right controller, right? So I'm going to choose the left controller asset, and you can see here that it has done some configurations. Pretty good. Awesome. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to my right-hand controller as well. I'm going to go up. I'm going to select my XR controller action-based and set the preset. Whoops. And I'm going to set the preset to XRI right default controller. Okay. So, all right. So this is not enough. Not over. This is not over. We have more stuff to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my XR interaction manager, and I am going to add a new component. And this component is known as input action manager. So search for a new component. So, it doesn't matter where you place them. It has to be in the scene somewhere, but I'm using the XR interaction. Okay. There we go. Input action manager, action assets. I can see it right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click this plus button, right? And you can see that I have an option to select the input action asset. Now for this, I'm going to go to the starter assets that I got, and I'm going to drag and drop this default input actions into this. Right. So I'm going to slowly drag and drop the input action asset to this. Okay. So why did I do that? Because we're using the new Unity input system. And because we're using the new Unity input system, we need to specify some actions, right? Because this is considered as an action-based input. So we have to capture the controller input, the headset input, the button inputs, the movement, everything, and we have to convert them to an action. So all of these actions, we have to do them by ourselves, or Unity has given us a sample input action. So if I double click this one right here, you can see that we have certain actions for the left hand interaction, left hand locomotion, and then there's something called XR UI. If I go to left hand interaction, you can see we have different actions. There are things called select, activate, UI press. There's a lot. But if I expand select, you can see here that we have the button. If you press the left hand grip button on your controller, it will activate the select action, right? If you press the trigger button, it will activate the activate action. So we are going to be using this. All right, so now let's see how this thing works, right? I have the whole base thing set up. I have the input action manager set up and the XR origin set up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this in my Oculus headset, right? So if I want to do this, because I'm doing this for the first time, let me just explain what I'm doing here. I'm using my Oculus with Oculus Link, and I'm using this with a cable. So I'm using my Oculus Quest like an Oculus Rift, right? So I'm considering this as a PC VR headset, but actually it's a mobile headset. This thing is known as Oculus Link, right? So if you go to oculus.com and search for Oculus Link, you will see various configurations in order for this to work. I'm not going to go through that. But if you have time at the end, I'll just quickly mention how to do it. All right, so I'm in my computer I'm in my VR space right now. I'm going to open up Oculus Quest Link. All right, so to do that, I need to install another application called Oculus. All right, so this is that application. So it's a little bit of a huge application. It takes like about 5 gigabytes or 10 gigabytes of your hard drive. Sometimes it's a little bit buggy. It cannot identify whether you connected your device or not. So I may have to restart Oculus in order for that to work. Let me quickly restart this. All right, let me check. I may have to yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit buggy, right? So if you come to certain certain constraints, you may have to restart Oculus, but for some reason it doesn't do it. So I may have to do it by myself. Let me search for this Oculus server. I'm going to restart the whole thing. Give me a minute. All right, let's see whether this thing works now. Okay, so if this thing doesn't work right now, I'm just going to continue the development. I'm going to show you the basics of the XR interaction toolkit. And then at the very end, I'm going to jump off the session. And after like a minute or two, I'm going to come back after restarting my computer. So, obviously we're going to have technical challenges with all these tools installed, right? Okay. Anyway, so when you run this, no. I'm actually opening up Oculus. I'm opening up the the task manager to end the task. For some reason, it doesn't just go away. It just says that open OVR server exe cannot restart for some reason. Yeah, if I try to end this process, it doesn't allow. So I may have to restart my computer. I think it's better if I just take like a quick couple of minutes to get out of the session and jump back in. Just give me a quick minute. I'm just going to jump back into this session. I think it's better that way. Would that be okay? All right, nice. All right, see you in a bit. Hello, hello. Welcome back. I am back from the VR world. Let's see whether we can get this thing started. I think I have my project open. I think it's still opening up, but obviously I'm in the VR world, and all right, cool. Let me start sharing my screen. There we go. I think my Unity project is still opening up. Oh, is it? Yeah, it's still opening up. Okay, so all right, there you go. I'm in already. Nice. I think, thank God I saved my scene, so I didn't want to do this over again. All right, anyway, now I have my VR device connected, right? Because I have my VR device connected, I can go to the play mode, and it will immediately take me in my VR headset to the VR mode. All right, here you go. As you can see here, this is me. I can look up and down, and I can take my controllers up and look at this. So these are my controllers. You don't really see them. No controllers, because we don't have any 3D models attached here. But you can see two lines going out of this, right? I'm going to show you how to quickly set up some sort of an interactable, but I'm going to show you the principle behind it, so that way you can customize your own interaction. Basically, in XR Interaction Toolkit, we have something called interactors, right? So we have something called interactors, and then we have some other components called interactables. Interactors and interactables, right? So in interactors, basically the interactors are the ones that are actually performing interactions. Interactables are the components that actually gets interacted by an interactor, right? So the XR Interaction Toolkit by default gives you something called XR Ray Interactor. So this is what we saw. It looks like a laser point going out from our hands. And then we have another one called XR Direct Interactor. And then we have another one called XR Socket Interactor. This is not something that you assign it to your hands. Socket Interactor. And when it comes to interactables, we have something called the Grab Interactable. So this is the one that we're going to be using today. Grab Interactable. And then we have something called a Simple Interactable. So a Simple Interactable is basically, it doesn't do anything, but it has configurations to understand whether it has been interacted by an interactor. When it comes to the Grab Interactable, it, instead of just identify certain interactions, it also gets grabbed into the hand. All right, so let's quickly configure the Ray Interactor as well as the Direct Interactor, and let's see something, let's see how we can grab something. All right, so let me go back to Unity. I'm going to quickly create a cube, 3D object, cube. And maybe I can create a quick material to this. Create material. I'm going to give a red color material to this. I like this color. Let me change the color to red. And now I'm going to scale it down, and place it over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new component to this, which is the XR grab interactable. XR grab interactable. That's pretty much it. You had to do that. You had to do only that. So you have some configurations here. You can just throw them around. You can set up a velocity scale to this. Different configurations. I don't want to take our time today. You can customize them and you can see what they do. But I'm going to take some duplicates of this cube, right? Duplicate here, another duplicate over here, another one over here. Okay. Now, I'm going to use a couple of interactors. So if I go to my XR origin, and if I go and expand the camera offset, I'm going to select my right-hand interactor, and I'm going to remove some of the components. As you can see here, both my interactors, they have the, both my controllers, they have the XR controller component, the ray interactor, which allows you to interact with things from a distance. And then we have the line renderer and the XR interactor line visual, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click, remove component, right-click, remove component, right-click, remove component. And instead, I'm going to attach the XR direct interactor to this. In addition to that, I'm going to create a new sphere collider, right? And also, I'm going to convert this to a trigger. By converting this to a trigger, it is going to use this trigger collider as the collision area of my hand, right? So why we have a direct interactor? Basically, we can use it as a controller, or maybe we can use it as a hand without sending any rays, lasers out from our controllers, right? So this is what we call as the direct interactor. As you can see here, the size of this is too much. We don't have hands of this scale. So I'm going to change the radius of this to 0.1. And so if I get rid of gizmos, you can see it right here. And also, in order to see where our hands are, I'm going to quickly create a 3D sphere inside of my hand controller. And I'm going to change the scale of this to 0.1, right? And I'm going to get rid of the collider because I don't need any colliders over here, right? Remove component. Okay, so consider this as my right hand, right? So now let's see how this thing works. All right, I'm going to go to play mode. All right, here I am, right? You can see all of my cubes over here, and you can see my hand. So this is my hand, right? This has a direct interactor, and this is the ray interactor, right? I can point this ray interactor on top of this, and as you can see here, it changes the color. And if I press the grab key, and there you go. Nice. So just like that, I can use my direct interactor to, put my hand in, press the grab key, and take it out. This is nice, right? You can pick things up. You can do a little bit of a Jenga right here, right? Always be vigilant about your surrounding. Like the best part of the ray interactor is that you can pick things up from a distance, and you have this velocity scale as well, so you can just throw them around, right? You can just try to pick them. If you're, you can try to juggle them around as well. So this is the base implementation of the XR interaction toolkit. I'm also going to take 5 minutes of your time to show you how to create a locomotion system. How you can teleport and how you can move. But I'm not going to explain every component. I will just go through the steps of setting it up, right? So right now you're just in a single point, right? You cannot move. But in order to move around, you need to add a component called the locomotion system, right? So I'm going to use my Excite Interaction Manager for everything. I'm going to select Add Component and search for the locomotion system, right? And also I'm going to click Add Component. And I'm going to add the Snap Turn Provider Action-Based. The Snap Turn Provider Action-Based. And also, I'm going to click Add Component and search for Continuous Move Provider Action-Based. Right. So when I do that, you can see here that we do not have any references here, right? So just like what we did with the controllers, we can click the button right here and select the preset. This is something that is given to us by the starter assets right here. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to my continuous move provider as well. And believe it or not, that's pretty much it, right? What you can do is you can go to the play mode. Let me just show you what happens. Right, so by default, the turn providers and the move providers are configured to your thumbsticks. I'm not sure we can see this, but if I press my thumbstick backwards, it's a little bit strange because I'm using the snap interaction. Let me do a quick change because we are using, in the snap turn provider, we are using something called enable turnaround. I'm going to disable this. And also over here, there is something called enable strafe, which I'm going to disable. Let me drag my game window right here so that way you can see my movement, as well as what I see from my eye right here. Okay, let's go to the play mode. And there you go. So I can push my thumbstick backwards to go back, right? I can push my thumbstick forward to go forward. And also I can press my thumbstick left and right. See, so that way I can slowly, rotate myself around, right? There you go. Ta-da, you can grab them, you can move them around, you can just throw them, try your luck. Cool. So that is it about, smooth and turning locomotion. I'm going to keep the turn locomotion, right? So I'm going to go to the interaction manager, and here I'm going to keep the snap turn provider and disable the continuous move provider. Instead of this, I'm going to use something called teleportation provider. Teleportation provider. So compared to others, it's nothing. There's nothing here, right? Adding the teleportation provider is not enough, right? We need to let Unity know, we need to let this project know which areas that you can teleport to, right? To do this, we need to attach teleportation area components to all the areas that we can teleport ourselves into, right? So in this case, we should wander around this plane. So I'm going to select this plane right here. And I'm going to add a teleportation area component. Here you go. Believe it or not, that is pretty much it. Right? I'm going to save my scene, and I'm going to go to the play mode. Right, and as you can see here, this is me. I can pick things up. Right now, if I press my thumbstick forward and backwards, you can see that I'm not moving. Right, but if I point my controller towards the floor, you can see that it turns white. Right, in order to teleport, you need to press the grip key. I know that it is bad, but pressing the grip key is the only way that by default it allows you to teleport. So press the grip key and you are teleported, right? You can see from the game view where I am, but let me just quickly teleport over here. And over here, I can use my controllers to snap rotate around myself. There you go. Cool. I'm at the other side of the table. Nice. So because of the time, I'm not going to show you every component and all of the details of this, but you can customize the interactions. For example, if you don't want a straight line and if you want a curved line, you can go to the ray interactor right here. And over here, you can change this to, from a straight line to a projectile curve, right? And also you can use raycast mask and layer masks to allow a controller to, use something. And you can also copy and paste these controllers. So you will not be using the same controller for every interaction. For example, you can use one left-hand controller just for teleportation. For example, like this. So this is going to be only for teleportation. And you can customize it in a way so that it has a straight, it has a curved line, and it only works with a given set of objects with layer masks. And also, you can go over here and you can customize the input. So now in this case, you are pressing the grip key to teleport, which is not great, right? What we can do is, by default, Unity has given us a thumbstick forward and release option for us to teleport. So over here, you can click this button and you can search for something called teleport select, right? So this way, it will only allow you to press the thumbstick forward and release in order to teleport. So you can customize, right? There is very much room for customizations, right? So this is pretty much it in terms of setting up a basic VR environment. But if, for example, let's just say that you want to create custom components, right? Obviously, you can use standard Unity methods like, collisions, triggers, I don't know, whatever that you're using to build normal games in Unity. You can use the same things here as well. But in addition to that, you have these tracked devices. You have controllers rather than just input, right? You can use them to manipulate certain game objects. And also, if you select these controllers, you can see here the controllers have their own. If you go to the Ray interactor, right over here, you can see we can set up audio events. Like, for example, if you select something, you can play a sound, and then you can have haptic events where it just gets vibrated when you select something, when you grab something, when you hover over something. So you can use them as well. And the most important part is you have interactor events right here, right? So this is pretty much similar to on-click, right? If you're familiar with button inputs, on-click events, you can use them, right? You can use the hover event, the select event. And this is only considering the left controller itself, the controller, the interactor. Similarly, you can do custom configurations to the interactables as well. You can select this one, and over here you can see that we have interactable events. And you have a lot of interactable events. Hover started, hover entered, hover exited, hover, select entered. Select means you're actually grabbing this. And then you have this activate feature where you can, for example, imagine that you are creating a gun in VR, and you can use the select function to grab the gun. And while it is selected, you can use the trigger to shoot the gun, right? So you can just grab the gun and press the trigger to shoot the gun. So those are like, the considerations or the things that you can use to customize and use them. All right. So thank you very much for joining today. One quick thing, because this is in Android mode, I can just, connect my Oculus Quest. Of course, you have to enable developer options to you have to enable developer mode of your Oculus Quest. And this is pretty much similar to how you deploy your Android application. So you can go to player or file build settings. There are some configurations that you need to do, right? So if you go to player settings, by default, it says that it doesn't, it doesn't use OpenGL-ES2. So remove OpenGL-ES2 for Android, which will remove some of the stuff and allow you to build it, right? And as you can see here, I have my Oculus Quest 2. If I hit build and run, it's going to take some time, and it's going to build the application, and it's going to install this APK into the Quest. All right, so that is pretty much it. So I use 2 different ways of actually testing this. The first one is, connecting my Oculus as an Oculus Link, connecting my Oculus with Oculus Link. So it identifies an Oculus Rift PCVR. And then I showed you how to build this. So of course, sometimes you may get into some trouble, errors, warnings, and things like that. If you get any issues, feel free to reach me out. You can, I think you may have some of my links as well. Reach me out, and I'll be always be willing to help you out if I'm available. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. See you, hopefully see you soon. And also good luck for your hackathons, your gamathons. Everybody who's joining, thank you very much.